Danielle Mezzanotte has been vomiting uncontrollably for the past week, and no doctor has been able to tell her why. The only relief comes with the help of IV antiemetics she receives in the ER, but it is temporary. Within hours of being discharged, the violent vomiting begins again, and over the next 2 weeks, Danielle falls into a grim routine.
It was pretty much in and out of the emergency room. Every single time they would get me to stop vomiting for about 4 hours with the IV medications. They would think that I'm all better and I'm not going to vomit anymore, and they would send me home with oral medications, and those didn't work for me.
Now, after 3 straight weeks, the vomiting has wreaked havoc on Danielle's body.
After all the vomiting and all the force, my stomach was just sore, and I was getting really weak and losing a lot of weight.
She would just come home and lay on the couch, and basically at that point it was just like, okay, I'm just waiting till I go back again to the emergency room.
After weeks with no answers in sight, Danielle is finally referred to a gastroenterologist.
The first meeting with the gastroenterologist, he admitted me to the hospital for a weekend to take care of me and to do some more tests, and they stopped the vomiting for the whole weekend.
The gastroenterologist wants to get a clear look at Danielle's digestive tract, so he decides to perform a colonoscopy, a procedure that allows the doctor to look at the inside of Danielle's colon.
You don't know how much my wife and I prayed that the GI doctor found something, because at this point they had already pretty much said, we don't know what to do.
But once again, the tests come back with normal results. It is then that Danielle's GP decides to take a radically different approach.
My primary care physician referred me to the surgeon because she thought it still could be my gallbladder.
Surgery is a drastic step, but at this point, Danielle is willing to try anything.
I was kind of happy. Normally I would be very scared, but after being sick for so long, I just wanted someone to find out what was wrong. I had lost about 30 pounds at this point. My eyes had turned red. The insides of my eyes had turned red.
Her vomiting was so violent that the vessels in her eyes would break.
At their first meeting, the surgeon takes one look at Danielle and admits her to the hospital. After a thorough exam, he agrees that the gallstone theory has some merit. It's possible the stones are just so small that they're not being picked up on regular tests. He decides to perform a special scan that tests how well Danielle's gallbladder is functioning.
It's supposed to be a minimum of 30%, and mine was only 16% functioning.
Danielle is diagnosed with cholecystitis, or inflammation of the gallbladder, normally caused by a gallstone stuck in the neck of the gallbladder. Within 30 minutes, Danielle is prepped and ready for surgery to remove her gallbladder.
I was really nervous about having the surgery, but at the same time, I was very excited to think that this might be the answer as to why I've been so sick.
We were hoping that this was finally the light at the end of the tunnel, that, okay, it is her gallbladder. Just like my mother-in-law, just like my wife, just like my sister-in-law, and things would go back to normal.
4 hours later, Danielle slowly comes out of the anesthesia, and for the first time in weeks, doesn't feel like throwing up.
After the surgery, I was able to eat, I was able to drink, I had no nausea whatsoever, a little bit of pain from the surgery, but I was on medication for that, and I felt 100% better.
After 3 days recovering in the hospital, Danielle is discharged and heads home.
I was able to do many things that I hadn't done, and everything seemed to be going really well.
But then the inconceivable happens. Danielle starts vomiting again.
Oh God, that was just horrible. Seeing her sick again, thinking we thought we fixed the problem. It got frustrating, and now where do we go next?
The Mezzanottis rush back to the ER, where doctors are shocked to discover that removing Danielle's gallbladder didn't do the trick. They admit her and page her surgeon to see if there's anything more he can do.
When I went back to the surgeon, he said he really didn't know again what it was, but the pain I was having had moved down to my right side and lower, and he thought that maybe it could be my appendix.
Danielle is prepped for an emergency appendectomy.
This time with the surgery, I wasn't as worried. I just was more fed up than anything. Just do whatever you have to do to figure out what is wrong with me.
I was very nervous. because there were no guarantees at that point. Here he is starting to remove body parts. Okay, we understand that you can live without your gallbladder, you can live without your appendix, but that's 2 body parts that she doesn't have anymore.
4 hours after the surgeon makes his first cut, Danielle wakes up in post-op, and again, she's feeling much better.
The surgery went really well. They removed my appendix, and when they did the exploratory surgery, they really didn't find anything wrong.
After a quick recovery period in the hospital, Danielle heads home. But she's barely home 36 hours before it starts all over again.
I was pretty devastated. No one knew what was going on. I really didn't think anyone would ever figure out what was wrong with me.
She said she wanted to die. She would have been better off dying because they weren't helping her.
Danielle rushes back to the hospital, dangerously weak and desperate for help.
At this point, I was losing way too much weight. My gastroenterologist decided to put in a PICC line to help feed me through it. This way I was getting nourished at the same time when I couldn't keep anything down.
The